Good evening. It is Tuesday, July 26th, and welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show post. Live streaming on Facebook Live, Twitch, and our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports this evening. My name is Big Reg. I'm joined by three of my partners in crime. We got Ed in the building. What's going on, Ed? How you feeling?
I feel good. Good to see everybody this evening. Let's talk some sports. Let's do this.
J3 is in the building. What's up, my brother?
Good evening, fellas. How y'all doing?
Good.
What's up, Jay?
And last but definitely not least, the professor is in the building. What's going on, partner?
What's up, gentlemen, man? Let's praise the Lord for real, because let's get the energy up. Let's talk sports. Let's worry about the other stuff after we done. So good to see y'all.
Likewise.
Sounds like a plan. This evening, we're going to give you some quick hits. And then we're going to talk about a sport we don't get into a lot. But we're going to cover the track and field world championships that just completed at the University of Oregon this past weekend. We're going to hit on the boys of summer, Major League Baseball. You see Professor's got his background, right? We got another Field of Dreams game coming, I think, next month, I believe. And then, of course, we got to talk NFL. So, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. Please sit back, relax, enjoy posts on the Positional Sports Talk Show channel. For you tennis fans out there, this weekend, if you happen to be in the DMV area, the City Open begins this Saturday in Washington, D.C. It's already had a nice feel, but one of the living legends, Miss Venus Williams, is slated to play her first singles event in over a year. Venus just added herself to the event late last week, and her and Serena are also slated to play in the National Bank Tournament in Toronto next month in preparation for them possibly playing in the U.S. Open at the end of August. So if you enjoy tennis or if you just want to see a part of history, I would highly recommend, if you're going to be in the Washington, D.C. area this weekend, try to catch Venus there. But definitely come end of August, if they stay healthy and they play in the U.S. Open, I would highly recommend, if you can make it up to New York, make it up to the U.S. Open, because there's a good chance this might be their last year that we see them playing major tennis.
Yeah, real quick, Big Reg. I'd just like to send a shout out to the Williams sisters, Venus and Serena, and they always have supported the City Open in DC. So anyway, thanks for that continued support, Williams sisters, and we look forward to seeing you in the DMV this weekend.
Also in the tennis field, we got to say congrats to Coco Gauff.
Mm-hmm.
Coco Gauff just announced and is playing in her brand new, soon-to-be-released first signature shoe ever, the New Balance CG1.
Is Coco still a teenager, or has she hit 18 yet?
Well, she just graduated.
Yeah, so she's 18.
Well, she's an adult, but she's still in her teens, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So Coco she joins the likes of Serena and Venus as being one of the few female tennis players to have their own signature shoe. And right now, she is the only female tennis player that has a current signature shoe. Now, of course, the queen, Serena, still plays in her Serena Nikes, but they haven't released a new version of that in a couple of years. So shout out again to Coco Gauff. That's huge. That's huge. And to do that with the company she stayed with, New Balance, stepping up and putting that out is big time. Got to let y'all know, get y'all on alert for this weekend, because this weekend is going to be real interesting in the events of combat sports. On Saturday, two events, big events on Saturday. For boxing on Showtime, Danny Garcia faces Jose Benavidez Jr. in his first bout at 140 pounds, which is junior middleweight. Danny Garcia, the former welterweight champion, finally moved up in the weight, so he's going take his chances at the 140-pound belt. They got a nice card underneath that, unlike some of those Golden Boy promotions. So if you're into boxing, you got some good stuff coming over the next few weeks in boxing. And then UFC 277 is this Saturday, and it features 2 rematches for titles.
Yes.
The co-main event is Brandon Moreno takes on Kai Kara France for the flyweight title. This is their second time. Kai Kara France actually beat Moreno their first time fighting. Moreno now has the belt. And then the main event, a rematch of possibly the second biggest upset in women's MMA
redemption.
history. Amanda Nunes tries to get her belt back from Juliana Pena, who, going into that fight, told everybody that she wasn't just going to beat Nunes, that she was going to submit her, and did what she said she was going to do and walked her
Broke
down.
my heart, man.
I don't know.
Broke my heart.
Hey, but real quick, can we talk about that Garcia fight? I mean, who y'all liking? Because you just like said it and skip right over it. You ain't even get into it. Or you don't think it's going to be a good match?
No, I think it's going to be a good fight, but whenever you go up in weight, especially when the weight started adding significant, he's going up 7 pounds in weight. Benavidez Jr. is a former title contender at 140. So he's going up against a real junior middleweight. So that's going to be an interesting contest for Garcia.
So who you liking in it? Because I'm thinking Benavidez should take it. If he sticks to his plan and boxes him and doesn't try to brawl with him, I think he can take him.
He can definitely win the fight. If Garcia is just fighting just to stay relevant, then Benavidez should win.
Mm-hmm.
If Garcia is back wanting to win a title again and just realized that his body just couldn't stay at welterweight and is re-energized, Danny Garcia was one of the best boxers in boxing for a long time. But with money comes, that old saying, when you start buying mansions, sleeping on silk sheets, it's hard to get up and run early in the morning and get ready for a big fight. So,
but didn't Danny Garcia attempt to go up earlier? Did he?
No, you're talking about Mikey Garcia.
Mikey, that's right.
Who just announced he retired.
Right. Okay, I got you.
So it should be pretty good matchup. I think it's going to be a good fight. If Danny Garcia is serious about chasing another title, he should win.
You think it's going to go the distance?
No. Somebody get knocked out.
Really?
Somebody get knocked out.
Wow.
Yeah, that should be a good fight. But all I care about is Nunes redeeming herself and getting back on top. Because that last fight broke my heart. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yeah. Again, when you got 2 belts, you done became a multimillionaire coming from Brazil where you didn't have anything. You done bought your dream house, got married, had a child. In those kind of professions, if you ain't all in, and you got somebody that's hungry,
yep,
that's trying to prove themselves, yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, there's there's a reason why very few champions in combat sports retire undefeated.
Exactly,
it's definitely a reason.
Yeah, because the hunger dissipates. The hunger dissipates.
Beat me on my head. Oh, she's kicking me in my face.
yeah.
I got 6 million in the bank. What am I doing?
What am I doing exactly? Why am I here taking this? Absolutely. And last but not least, we got to give a shout out to the WNBA. We try to support women's sports in general. The WNBA, their season basically has 3 weeks left in the regular season before they start their brand new playoff format, which is nice because there will be no automatic buys for the first round for teams. Each team will have will get first rounds will be three game series. The second rounds will be 5-game series, and championship will be 5-game series. So if you can give a chance, if you haven't already did that, check out the WNBA, including tonight. They're having their second annual Commissioner's Cup. Now that's going to be on Prime Video, but it's the two top teams in the league this year, the defending champions Chicago Sky against the Las Vegas Aces, and that should be a fabulous game. In this game, because this is a special game, kind of like an in leagues kind of championship that they built into the WNBA. The winning teams players get an extra $30,000 each. The losing team gets an extra $10,000. That also shows the disparity where they're having this special cup, and $30,000 is more than 10% of the highest paid players in the WNBA's salary. So this is a significant cash incentive for these ladies. So
yeah. So Ted Jerker for me, I gotta mention it while watching Sue Bird and who I feel is the greatest. I'm a huge Diana Taurasi out of UConn fan. Watched her whole career. Our basketball aficionados aren't on here tonight, but that felt like an Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson moment in the championship when they, hugged and kissed and stuff like that, man. I was just like, wow, this the last time we're going to see them do their thing on the court, and both of them had phenomenal careers. Just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, the players that Auriemma put out of UConn, it's just ridiculous, and the fact that they are doing what they're doing is amazing. Taurasi's in her 19th season, and Sue Bird's in her 20th season is great. So, shout out to both. All right, let's get into the track and field. For the first time ever, the World Championships were held in the U.S. We mentioned that to y'all last week. But instead of the World Championships, it turned out into the American Track Invitational.
The women's.
I mean, you generally would see a little bit of bump for the home team when they're hosting an event like this. But what the Americans did was pretty impressive. They set a World Championship record with 33 medals, 13 of which were gold.
Wow.
Only one under the record for gold medals in the championship. So that's the overall view. But the biggest story to me was the passing of the torch.
Yes.
Of the queen of at least American track and field, and possibly the queen of track and field, period. The most decorated athlete, male or female, in world championship history, Allison Felix, with 20 medals, competed in her last U.S. team event ever.
But she not only competed in her last event, she literally got up off the couch and competed. A significant contribution. Allison Felix is phenomenal. I don't even know if we realize how. Do you think us Americans, sports fans, realize how phenomenal she like?
No.
Not only how great her career it has been on the field, or well, in her case, the track,
right?
But how she's represented herself off the track. You've never heard one peep of anything out of this woman.
Nope.
From the time she turned professional at, I believe, 17,
Right,
till now, is she 30? What is Allison, about 37, 38 years old?
something in the
Something
midst.
something like
that range. Never heard of peep, and for whatever reason, if she was a male athlete, track athlete, and I know track's not one of our major sports, so to speak, and you usually only really celebrate and glorify track athletes once every 4 years for the most part. Even though we do have world championships and other major events throughout the year. It's sad it's really sad that she's bowing out gracefully again, a champion again, and it's like we meaning the general sports public. I don't even know if we celebrate her enough. I really don't.
We
That's how
don't.
great.
We don't.
That's how great she's been.
And I'll say this, Ed, you know, and I don't know if it's just on the women's side or what the case might be, but for an athlete that has accomplished as much as she has, she should not only have well, she has the accolades because she earned them, but she should have the endorsements. She should
Yes.
have the spotlight. But the issue that I have is that the spotlight is on the other track and field woman that can't even get herself together to make it to this stage.
They,
But the
there you go.
differences in their personalities, their behavior, things of that nature. Why is one put on the stage to show, you know, how she is, the criticism, all that stuff, but then a woman that should be propped up and shown for everything that she's done since, you know, folks like Jackie Joyner Kersey and track runners
Flojo.
like that. Yeah,
Flojo.
Flojo. And
Yeah.
it just hurts. Another one that died too soon. And it just hurts that she isn't getting that same type of recognition that she really, really deserves. And I don't know what it is, but that's the differences that makes me upset about the whole thing. Go ahead, Big Ray. Drop that bomb.
Allison Felix bucked the system. Allison Felix's biggest contribution to track and field will be off the field. When she went public against Nike, when she was pregnant, and they told her because she was pregnant, they were going to reduce her salary by 40% to 40%, not by 40%, to 40%, because she wasn't going to be able to run. And she fought and ended up letting that contract expire and actually sued Nike for discrimination dealing with pregnancy, which is against the law, federal law. She changed the world of women's sports, especially for track athletes, because that was common practice. She was lucky enough that they were only going to reduce it to 40%. Most of them would be dropped immediately once they told their sponsors that they were pregnant.
Yeah, which is crazy. That doesn't even make sense.
In the 2000s.
In the 2000s. And real quick, just what you were speaking on, Professor, as far as how we celebrate. I think we have a problem when we celebrate dysfunction. And I'm not criticizing anybody's backgrounds or anybody's lifestyles, but I'm just saying when we criticize dysfunction and chaos, let's say chaos instead of dysfunction, and not celebrate an athlete of Allison's stature and the way she is represented, not only herself, but as you mentioned, Big Reg, women, it's a problem. It's a problem. But nevertheless, congratulations to Alex.
And not to beat it, but you just Big Reg brought up another point. Then why is someone like Megan Rapinoe, who took on an establishment, why is she getting ESPYs and things of that nature being credited for moving women's soccer and other areas of the sport the way that it was, but yet Allison Felix didn't get the credit she deserved for standing for herself and other women, you know, who may be competing with pregnancies and things of that nature, and even beyond that. So you just raised another point on the other side. We know the answer to it, but I'm just
answer to that.
But I'm just putting it out there. Again, here's a woman that should be celebrated on both sides, standing up for herself, what she's done off the field and on the field and track. And we have to stand on our soapboxes just to praise her for what she's done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Felix was only supposed to run one event, what is called the mixed 4x400 relay, which 2 legs are run by men, 2 legs run by women, which was one of the first events of the championship. So the championship was 10 days long, ended Sunday. So I think she ran that maybe the first Tuesday of the event. And as Allison Felix normally does, she blistered her leg of the 4x400. When she gave the baton off, they had a lead. The team had a lead, and unfortunately, the anchor, the young lady, just fell apart in the last 100 and got past. They ended up with bronze. So Team USA wasn't happy with that, the way that ended. They wanted Allison to go out on top. So Allison went back home to California, chilling.
Literally.
The US Team USA said, "Hey, we want you to come on back and run in the women's 4x400 because we want you to go out with a gold medal. Just come in, run one of the preliminaries because all the runners, even the ones in the preliminary rounds, get medals." So she ran her leg in the semifinals, the 4x400, and set it up for the finals.
Monsters.
Who she passed the torch to, who is her teammate, she's mentoring now. The 22-year-old new queen of U.S. track and field, Sydney McLaughlin,
Sid.
ran
Yes.
Sid the
Yes.
kid.
under
Yes.
48-second last
Yes.
leg of her relay.
Oh.
Yes.
And she did it with nobody within 50 yards of her.
Not at all.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
She didn't have to run hard like that.
Oh, no.
She really did not have to show off.
But that's
like
just in her, though. That's just in her.
She got that dog in her.
And she
Yeah.
said she wanted to make sure that Allison went out the right way, so they was
That's
going
right.
to do the thing right and give it all they
That's right.
had. So, shout out to Sydney McLaughlin, who
Awesome.
not only won that gold medal, but in her actual primary event, the 400-meter hurdles, she not only won the gold medal, she shattered her own world record. She lowered her world record by over 7/10 of a second. And if you follow anything in track and field, when world records are broken, it's usually by hundreds, not tenths, much less almost a full second. She ran that race so fast that she could have taken her finals race in the 400-meter hurdles, and that would have qualified her for the 6th best spot in the 400-meter finals in women's straight 400, no hurdles.
Wow.
That's I don't even
Wow.
say that again.
Wow.
I don't think people understand
Wow.
how
Dominant that is.
Yeah.
dominant that is.
The first woman ever under 51 seconds in the 400-meter hurdles. That pace was fast enough that she would have been 6th in the 400 meters, running against people who weren't running hurdles, and she was running hurdles.
So let's put this in perspective. She's 22 years old. 22. She has at least, even conservatively, even if she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and get this money together, and I'm a bounce because she just got married. So, you know, she wants to, you know, move on to business or, you know, while starting a family, etc. But she's 22. Say 10 more years.
Exactly.
Woo.
She hadn't even hit her physical prime yet.
She's not even.
Nope.
She's still. I mean, I'm not calling her a kid to disrespect her, but her body isn't even matured yet. She's 22.
Right.
Scary.
Oh, scary.
So we literally had a passing of the torch, which is crazy. And to be teammates and to have the same coach, Bob Kersey, who is a wizard when it comes to women's track. The brother of Jackie Joyner. They doing their thing, so shout out. We also got to give a shout out to another phenom. Just turned 20-year-old, Athing Mu, continued her unbelievable streak. She hasn't lost an 800-meter race in almost 3 years.
And she make it look so easy. She make it look so easy.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Is Miss Mu the first American to dominate that or win gold in that 800 meter distance?
Yes.
I think that's.
Yes.
I think if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken,
Yes.
she's
Yes.
20.
Yes.
She's 20.
Yes.
Whew.
And when she's running and she stretches it out at the end of the 800, it's ridiculous. So to have these two young ladies at those ages dominating world track and field is crazy. Now we gotta give a shout out to some other people that broke world records. And at the World Championships, if you break a world record, you get a $100,000 bonus off the top. No, plus whatever your track federation is going to give you for doing that. Nigeria's Toby Amusan won the gold medal in the 100-meter hurdles, women's hurdles, and she broke the world record in a time of 12.12 seconds, which is phenomenal. That was literally more than a half second better than her best personal best ever. So shout out to her. And one of my stories I enjoy, Louisiana's own and LSU's Armand Duplantis. If you don't follow pole vaulting, you'd never hear from this guy. But this kid has been a pole vaulting phenom since he was 6 years old. His parents, his mother and father were both pole vaulters. His mother's from Sweden. They came over to the U.S. He was born in Louisiana. They started training him to do the pole vault at the age of 6 in their backyard. They're still his coaches today. He raised his world record to 20 feet, 4.5 inches.
That's crazy.
That is
20 feet.
crazy.
On a
That is crazy. 20
Wow.
feet. That's crazy. That's unreal.
Yeah. Now,
Just
Yeah.
goes to show hard work pays off.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that when you become a prodigy or something, you can take that event to heights that people never thought. And he honors his mother. He actually competes for Sweden, which is
ain't
not
mad at
big
that,
in track and field, but to honor his mother and help their country and all that, he competes for Sweden.
Right.
But shout out, young man.
Definitely.
And last but not least, we got to talk about Virginia's own
DMV.
That's right. That's
Mr.
right.
Noah Lyles.
Wow.
Who set the American record in the 200 meters, passing the great
Michael
Michael Johnson.
Yeah.
Nice.
Who held that
Yeah.
record for 26 years.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
crazy. Yeah.
I mean, 19.31 in the 200. And the scary part is, Noah did well winning the 200. The U.S. men, I told y'all last week, they swept the 100. They also swept the 200. Kenny Bednarik came in second. But there's an 18-year-old teenager, Arian Knighting, who just came out of, he had been a high school phenom, but he has jumped on the professional scene. He came in third. For his age, Arian Knighting is running a half a second faster than Usain Bolt was running at the same time.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Let's before we get it,
That's
let's
awesome.
up.
celebrate the DMV's own TC
No.
Williams, formerly TC Williams. I think it's called Alexandria City High School now, but it was the same high school. If everyone remember the Titans, that's where Noah Lyles is from. But he was a phenom as well, because he went from high school to professional. He's supposed to go to the University of Florida, skipped that, and went on to obviously, make himself, his family, and America proud. So Noah Lyles, that's good job, DMV.
One thing about Noah, it's got to be hard being his twin brother, though.
Yeah, but
It's got to be hard.
but you
Because he runs track and field, too.
But you can
He's
catch
a
some of
pro,
them films.
but yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Professor J's boy, Greek Freak got a couple. Sometimes you just gotta hold on.
Yeah,
So, hey.
you got it. Good comp. That was a good one.
Speaking of that, they just signed his younger brother
Right.
to
No,
their
he-
G League.
No, he can't ball.
So that is crazy. All right, let's move on to Major League Baseball news. Probably the biggest news out there right now. Trade deadline's a week away. Professor, what are these Nationals going to do with Juan Soto?
Yeah, so the problem is that the best or worst kept secret around the league is that the learners are going to sell the team. And what do you do with a player, a great player, high priced player? I mean, to keep him, you raise the value of your team. So logically, I do not understand the type of fire sale that they're trying to have now for Juan Soto, because we're talking upwards of $500 million that he's going to command on the open market. So before everybody freak out, that brings the Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, and one other team to the table that can afford to pay this type of player that type of money to come in. And I'm going to say this, because y'all know I'm a Bronx Bomber fan. with Stanton continuously getting hurt, their deep pockets can pull a Juan Soto in, before the trade deadline, because as you know, and we'll touch on in a minute, the Yankees are the hottest team in baseball. Having Juan Soto now on that team just pushes the ante up for them to be able to finally win a World Series. So it's been too long for bless you. It's been too long for them. But the Nationals are not doing this right. But we've seen it with Harper. We've seen it with Rendon. We've seen it with they paid Strasburg and he can't even get on the field anymore. And we saw them give up on Mad Max a little bit too soon. Yeah. But even before all of them, right, and Trey Turner, and even before that, they gave up a little bit too soon on Jason Worth. So their track record is there. And they squeezed out a World Series. We'll give that to them. Very happy because that's the home team. But they really don't do business well when it pertains to their star players and putting a face on the franchise. After they get the glory, it's like now they allow the player to move on. But I guess you can't use blackballing, but to leak the terms of a contract and then try to embarrass the player because he pushed back and told you I'm worth more than that. I mean, they're idiotic in this ownership. I really wish, Ted Leonsis could pony up the money to get this team, but I just don't see that happening.
So let me ask you a question, Professor. If you were doing business, right? Now I'm just trying to look at it at a different angle. You let me know what you think. If you were running a business, would your baseball team, and I think you alluded to it, would it be more valuable with a $500 million contract over its head, or a farm system stocked with blue chip prospects, and you can build it and shape it and mold it in your own right with a salary cap or payroll, I should say, that's manageable? What now? Even though Soto to me is a commodity because he's 23 years old,
right? He's still young.
So. Worst case scenario, you sign him to a manageable contract. These 10-year, 13-year contracts, that to me, that doesn't make sense. Do a 4-year, do a 5-year. That way, you still have a commodity on your hand that you can move for both the player as well as the team. What is your read on that? What would you rather have? That was my question. Would you rather have the blue chippers in the minor leagues, or would you rather have a known commodity, 23-year-old superstar, but a $500 million price tag on him? What?
Well, at 23 years old, I mean, this cat is worth a farm system of a team that has something worthwhile. And as you know, Major League Baseball uses farm system players as trading pieces to get the actual players that they want. And without a salary cap, this would be a different conversation if there was a salary cap. But without a salary cap, we all know that baseball is an arms race. I know you can go to the Florida Marlins and some other teams who kept low payrolls, but look at the last 25 years. The teams with the highest payrolls, the Bostons, the Yankees, the Dodgers, they're the ones that are winning the World Series more often than smaller market or low payroll teams. And when you have a player like Juan Soto who is playing with a chip on his shoulder, you're going to get the best of what he has right now in his career. He's not injury prone. He's electric. I mean, it's going to be sad when he goes. So since, yes, he will get traded, but it's like you have to pull the trigger on a player like that now, because what do we know? Salaries in baseball are going to continue to go up. It was brought up on the 4-letter network today that 25 years ago, you had a bona fide, solid, all-star, all-pro player and somebody like Kirby Puckett. He signed a 5-year deal, $3 million per, for $15 million. Now let that sink in. You got players like A-Rod when he signed his contract with Texas and then the Yankees, who was making 300-something million. But think about the difference between the players from the 90s and the players now and what they make. Players want those contracts so that they can stay in one uniform, because what we forget, for the general public, this is not the NFL. These contracts are guaranteed. So these Bamas, when they getting old and decrepit, injury prone and all of that, They can sit back in the dugout and still roll in that paper because they're guaranteed, right?
Yep.
So for him to want, and Scott Boras is his agent too. Come on,
My man.
So he's
he
going
gonna get
to
the
get
most.
500. Yeah,
He gonna get the
Right.
most. Yeah.
yeah, he's going to get it, and he's not going to go to a bad team because baseball is allowed to spend as much money as they want to win. And don't be surprised because if they hear the Yankees chirping around, that means the Astros is going to try to jump in. We know that Texas money go far, that oil money. So, man, to answer your question, without a salary cap, yes, he will get paid that money. And if I'm an owner, I will pay for it because, look, what they pay these players on their payroll, remember, y'all, owners make billions. These are millionaires. Owners make billions every single year. So they're going to pay to get their championship because it keeps coming back to them full fold.
Yeah, I think the difference is going to be who buys the team.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a
Yeah.
big pocket owner, like the new New York Mets owner,
Right.
who came in and said, I'm going to spend and we're going to build a big market team. We're not going to be the little brothers anymore.
Right.
If the Nationals get a big pocket owner, then having Soto on a team means a whole lot. Because now you've got your young superstar that you can build around for the next decade plus.
Yeah. Instead of searching
It's
for
gonna
one.
be too late,
That
Big Reg.
and
It's
having
gonna
the
be too
condenser
late.
and
He gonna be
and having
gone.
the condenser to
He gonna
come
be
in.
gone.
That's
Well-
the sad part about it.
He don't have to be gone.
They can hold him
gonna be
around
gone.
because they still have him under contract for 2 more seasons. I think it's really going to be, if they are deep in negotiations with 1 or 2 people, I think it would be prudent for them to talk to these ownership groups and say, hey, what do y'all think about us trading Soto or not?
And I think that's what's going on.
What does Soto
And
want
we
to do,
didn't
though? Does he
address
want to
it.
stay? Does he want to stay or does he want to go?
He wants to go because it's the same thing they did to Harper. Remember, he didn't like how they were blackballing him, but then he still had one leg in the door where he wanted to stay. When they start releasing stuff to the media and making him look bad, he took a lesser per year contract to go to the Phillies because he had washed his hands of being here. And I think that's where Juan Soto is right now.
I think they pushed Soto in a position. Soto wanted to be respected. Those 2 contract offers that when you look at the number, oh my God, 350 million, 440 million.
Yeah.
How could he possibly turn those down? And they leaked them for that,
Yeah.
but they were below market value deals.
Exactly.
When
Because
you're the
remember
latest,
when Mike Trout,
when you're the latest to get paid and your contract comes up, you should be, if you're not the highest paid player, you should definitely be in the top 2 or 3. He was going to be like 15,
Right.
starting a 15-year
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
That does.
That's right.
And-
And again, I'm going to just do that. When Mike Trout got his big deal a few years back, he was in the upper echelon, and Soto will be paid per year less than Mike Trout is getting right now. And that's why he was like, nah, I'm not doing. And Mike Trout stayed hurt.
Right. And Mike Trout ain't got a ring.
None.
Nope.
And won't get one.
And Soto not only got a ring,
No.
Soto was big doing
Yeah.
that playoff push.
That was his coming out.
So
party.
he was
That's
significant
right.
about helping them win the ring. So he's proven that he can play on the big stage. So yeah. And then the last straw, when they didn't get that man a jet to go out to the All-Star game when that's kind of normal
that
practice.
was terrible.
And told that man
That's
to
what I'm
fly
talking
commercial.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Oh.
That's what
That
I'm
was dirty.
talking about.
Yeah,
That's
they did.
dirty.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
why
but-
he won that home run derby. He was pissed. He was like, I'm launching these show nationals.
he ain't flew commercial since he was 17.
So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking about them Yankees, the Yankees have the number 1 best record in the MLB, 66-31, leading the AL East by 12.5 games over a good Toronto team. So, I mean, it's not like they're in a bad division. You got the Twins leading the AL Central by 3.5 games. That's going to be a competitive
out there.
because you still got Cleveland. What are they? The Guardians now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Guardians.
3.5 games back. Then you got the Chicago White Sox only 4 games back. So they're going to be battling down to the very end. Those Houston Astros.
You love to hate them.
Hey,
Dusty.
Dusty Baker doing a hell of a job
Dusty.
down there. what
is.
happens? We need somebody to clean up this garbage. Hire a black man or black woman to fix it. Dusty been doing this thing down there. They lead the AL West 64-33, the second best record in the majors. 12 games over Seattle.
They're only 2 games out from the Yankees.
I know.
Yeah,
So-
2 games out.
and-
Yeah, it's close.
They
It's
just
close.
and they just spanked Yankees in a series.
Yeah.
So don't give it to New York. They're not just gonna lay down.
And New York got to worry
Hey, they
about the
probably
Mets.
cheated. They cheated.
Oh,
Man.
here we go.
They cheated.
Here we go. Here we
Yeah,
go.
they cheated.
Come on, man. We like Dusty. We Dusty.
Oh, we love Dusty because
Yeah.
that even go real quick. That even goes into the fact that should have been his World Series because
Yes.
he turned that team around
Yes.
and didn't get
National.
enough credit for it. And they ushered him out the door like he was
Like
the
he wasn't
problem.
even there.
But see, Dusty
Yep.
don't take any mess. You know, he like a Mark Jackson type. He like, So
well,
they
we've
showed
seen
him
that
the door.
before. Tampa Bay
Yeah.
Buccaneers.
Yeah.
We're talking about you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen how that goes.
Yeah. The New York Mets, who start their Subway Series tonight with the New York
Yeah, the
Yankees,
Yankees.
have a 59-37 record. They only lead the Braves though by 2 games. The Braves are getting hot. The Braves are getting healthy. So that's going to be interesting. Milwaukee leads the Central, and then of course the Dodgers out there in LA, 11.5 games up over the Padres. So
Yeah.
it's going to
And
be
one word about Philly, Big Reg, and they 9 games out, but remember they without a hot Bryce Harper that broke his thumb. I think if they can get him back in the lineup towards the latter half of the season, and they kind of hang around there, the Phillies can get hot and pull that thing close too.
Yeah, Bryce can get his swing back coming off of that thumb injury. That'll be interesting. And how willing is he going to be to put them hands out there after getting your thumb broken? No, that's real.
Yeah, I know.
That's
I
real.
know.
So it's going to be real interesting. So
And I know you're gonna have some pitches that's gonna try to find out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Inside tight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fastball, 99. Absolutely. Yeah, so the Major League Baseball season is 60% over, so we into that push. So get ready, lock in for the boys this summer. Now, let's talk about the NFL, and we're going to get into our division preview of the NFC South real quick, but we can't start without first congratulating Kyler Murray
Yes.
and the Cardinals on getting together, getting a 5-year extension for $230.5 million.
Well, Big Reg. Let's celebrate Kyler right now. Let's hold off on the
Okay.
Cardinals.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to get to that point. And like we try to do, we try to inform you of what's real money and what's fake money in these deals. So in Kyler Murray's deal, he only got a $29 million signing bonus. So his actual deal is actually pretty team friendly because what happens is when they give him these big signing bonuses, like Dak got $90 million when he signed his new contract at signing. So a lot of his bonus structure in this new deal is actually roster bonuses,
Wow.
which hit differently. But 104.3 million of the 230.5 million was guaranteed at signing. So basically, Kyler's going to be with them through 2024 for sure. He's guaranteed 160 million if he gets injured in that time. But then there's some outs to that. But the big issue with this whole deal, where you just made him the second highest paid player in NFL history per year annual amount, is that somehow it gets leaked that in his new deal, there's a clause that requires him to study 4 hours per week.
This is the problem I have with this. I don't even know where to start.
What?
I don't even know if I need to start on the heavy bag or the speed bag. I don't know where I'm going to start.
I want the heavy bag.
But here's what I will say about this. This, and I'm sure you guys, everyone has, a theory or opinion on this, but mine is simplified. The problem I have with this is because we're dealing with the history of the black quarterback in the NFL
Yep.
and the perceptions that came along with that.
Yep.
Being that and then being that we're incapable of learning plays, incapable of being a leader. But it goes back to the brain, the ability to retain and process information and our study habits. But this is not an NFL problem. This is a historical problem that goes back into the slavery days, where the perception of black folks was that we were incapable of being anything but labor. This is the problem I have with this. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll let you guys go off on this, because I know everyone has an opinion, and I want to. We all need to say something about this, because this is outrageous that something like this would even, first of all, would even be included in a contract, and then second of all, for it to even get out. Where you at, guys? Where we at?
This irritates me just as much as when they want to publish or leak the Wonderlic scores for black quarterbacks. It's never an issue when you talk about a white quarterback, but they always somehow want to leak out the scores for black quarterbacks. So this stinks highly of those types of situations. And we all know, we know this, that there are quarterbacks across the league that have to study, that get fussed out because they're not spending enough time in the film room. Like, think about somebody like Josh McCown or somebody like that. But you never hear about them studying enough, right? Mm-hmm. But it's always the something that you gotta put on the black quarterback to kind of make him stink or look bad in some way. I mean, we can throw Lamar Jackson in there. Every single time you got somebody that's always trying to make a former MVP now look bad and unworthy of what's coming down for him. You have people that don't think Kyler Murray is worth the money. But for you to do something like that, that lets people stand up and say, see, that's why I wouldn't have paid him that, because he don't even study. Yep. And it sends a narrative that he's not disciplined. He can't lead. He doesn't run the team well. They called him a petulant little spoiled brat last year. Like, it's just different things like that. And really, if you notice Kyler Murray's demeanor, I know some of it, he needs to get corrected. But the fact of the matter is that he leads by example on the football field. We see it. We don't know what's going on off the field, but he doesn't get enough credit for what he does for that team on the football field. And I think today was a low point, not only for the Arizona Cardinals, but for the narrative that just keeps going over and over again throughout the NFL. And then you get all the pundits and talking heads piling on because they think in the same way. And when are we going to get away from, people thinking that we're not intelligent enough, that we can't do this, we can't do that? Absolutely, he can lead a team. And people forget he was a star two-sport player. He could have went to baseball and probably made $500 million. We're talking about Soto. But the point is that I'm sick, tired of this always being the moniker or the label that's put on black quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think this was a blatant attack by the ownership or organization to try to put Kyler Murray in his place after Kyler Murray basically held their feet to the fire and told them, I need a new contract. And they knew that he wasn't bluffing, that he wasn't going to play unless they paid him. So they felt forced to pay him because they were terrible before him.
Horrible.
Had been in QB purgatory. And just drafted a quarterback with the top 5 picks the year before they drafted Kyler, who was a bust, who's a perennial backup, who's not even a second string backup anymore in the league. He a third string backup trying to get on the back of somebody's roster. So, I mean, to do that to him after you already publicly humiliated him by leaking the stuff that he wasn't a leader, that the petulant child stuff and all that. And then you sign the man, you agree to pay him, and then you're going to let this out?
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, why would you hurt your brand? Why would you not only hurt your brand, you alienate your best in theory player? Doesn't make sense. What do you think about this, J3?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Kyler's in a position where he's going to have to continue proving himself so that people will get off his back. Plain and simple. I mean, we all know he has a skill set, and like Professor Jay said, he is a two sport player, and he has the skills and he has the talent. He just has to win. But you can't blame the quarterback on their records when they're not winning, when the defense is not holding the other team down.
Yeah, and the coach is very suspect.
Oh my God! Let's not even talk about the coach, because everybody knows they can get hot for a couple games, and by mid-season, you don't see no wins at all on that squad.
Yeah. So we're gonna break down the Cardinals. So we just want to put that out there about Kyler.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the NFC South real quick. Of course, the Tampa Bay Bucks won the NFC South crown last year. They're favorites to repeat this year. They had a little scare. We all know Tom Brady retired for about 5 weeks and then decided to come back with some stipulations, even though he says he didn't make those stipulations. But Coach Bruce Arians all of a sudden decides he's going upstairs. And now they've got the defense coordinator promoted to head coach, which gives Tom Brady and the offensive coordinator, the local boy, chance to really run the offense, Mr. Byron Leftwich, to run the offense the way they want to in their vision without having to worry about Bruce's no risk it, no biscuit offense being filtered in there. So you got some big stuff happening, but one of the big things that they are missing, they got to replace both of the guards in their offensive line, which is interesting. And of course, Rob Gronkowski retired again. O.J. Howard, the other backup tight end, went to the Buffalo Bills. So it had some changes. Just announced today, though, they picked up another weapon. So I think they're going to go less tight end base, more wide receiver base. I don't know how much this man's got left in the tank, but I think he's going to come to play in Tampa in that warm weather with Tom and try to prove to everybody that he's not done yet. Mr. Julio Jones signs a one-year contract.
Julio Jones.
Adding another weapon to that offense. So what do y'all think about the Bucs?
I hope Julio does make a difference, but I don't see it. I mean, he hasn't done well in the last couple of years, so it'd be a shocker if he does.
I think on paper the Bucks probably should win. But here's my concern with not only the Bucks but the entire NFC South is that it's a transition year.
Yep.
And you literally have come Black Monday or whatever we're calling it, all these coaches could be on the hot seat. And don't anyone say that Todd Bowles can't be gone after 1 year, because we know how they do black coaches in the NFL.
Absolutely.
We've seen black coaches get fired after 1 year.
Yep.
So will Tom Brady hit the wall? We don't know. Will the new pieces on along their offensive line fit? We don't know. But on paper, they probably should. I would say the Saints, but the Saints is also. Am I getting ahead of it?
You can go ahead.
I would say the Saints. I like them better than I do the Bucks, but they have a new coach. And I don't know what type of trouble Kamara is going to get. I mean, what type of suspension he's going to get.
Yeah.
He's facing one. They finally got off the Michael Thomas train and brought in some talent at receiver to help Kamara if he's, for how many games he's there. But I do like the Bucks. I still want to go with the Bucks, and I want to see Todd Bowles succeed, because that Jets experiment, he had no support whatsoever from the front office. So I like the Bucks.
Yeah. So this year, I do think Tom Brady does hit the wall, and you just started talking about it. I'm gonna tell you why, because that Saints defense is gonna be nasty, and I know you just said they're trying to rebuild the offensive line. And the last time Tom Brady had a horrific injury, I believe they were playing the Chiefs when he suffered that knee injury when they were in a little bit of transition that year with the Patriots line. So I think I'm not going to say he's going to get hurt. I'm not going to wish that on the man. But I think he's going to have a lot of problems winning that division. I will say this about the Bucks. I think Julio and Gage will be motivated for 2 games this coming year. That's against the Atlanta Falcons. So I think both of them will have nice games in that situation. He's going to be a red zone threat, which means they don't have to play him every down because he's not that player anymore. But when they get inside the 20s, I think because Rob Gronkowski was your guy in that area. Now, with his catch radius being better than anybody else on the team, probably close to Evans, but now you got another weapon in the red zone that they can throw to. I think they just signed a tight end as well. I can't remember his name, but he is
Rudolph.
I want to say Rudolph. Yeah, Kyle Rudolph. So he's an okay tight end. He's not Gronk, but he can catch, especially in the red zone. So you know how they do. They're going to make sure Brady get as many whatever weapons as he can. They straight in the backfield. I still am picking the Saints because I believe that we've been teased by how Jameis Winston has developed as a quarterback. I'm not sure what they were thinking by paying Taysom Hill, but he is going to be the guy finally this year. You know, Michael Thomas coming off an injury and his little pseudo holdout and all of that. So I'm hoping that he can return. I hope Keyshawn Johnson talk to him because that's his cousin or nephew or something and kind of get him back in the fold. And they put a few little decent weapons back in there on offense. Yeah, Kamara is a question mark. So it's going to be a race between those 2 teams because I don't see the Falcons doing much of anything for Carolina.
Yeah, the Falcons under second season head coach Arthur Smith, they're in transition. They got rid of Matt Ryan, let Matt Ryan go after they failed to win the sweepstakes and bringing in the quarterback who had 24 cases against him. I don't know what organizations were thinking to letting that get out public that they were actively going after him. But so they brought in Marcus Mariota as kind of a bridge quarterback. But then you got to realize with the Falcons, they're going to be without Calvin Ridley.
Well, they do have what's the kid's Pitts. They do have him at tight end.
Yeah.
But after that, they have no running backs.
Right.
Their other receiver, they did draft a kid out of USC.
Drake London.
But again, their middle linebacker, he might not be playing right now. He might be a cap casualty.
Right.
So I just don't. I don't. The Saints, yeah. Arthur Smith, Bryce Young might be in Atlanta next year.
Well, they did draft Desmond Ridder.
Bryce Young might be in the.
I think Desmond Ridder might get a chance to actually play some games this year. But I hear you. I think if Jameis Winston can come back off of that injury healthy and continue to show that he can cut down the interceptions at least in half with the weapons that they put in New Orleans.
They have Landry now, and
they picked up Landry,
Olave or whatever.
Chris
Olave
from Ohio State. Michael Thomas is supposed to be close to 100%.
Yeah.
So I mean, they got outside weapons where
they could
he will get a chance to throw for 4 to 5,000 yards again.
Yeah,
but they just can't have him throwing 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions.
So y'all just disrespecting the Panthers. Y'all just
who?
I think
Rule getting fired this year, man. Rule getting fired
next year.
He got Baker.
Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Enough said.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna leave that alone.
When your starting quarterback is between Baker Mayfield, who you just traded for, who flopped at his team, and Sam Darnold, who you traded for a year before for the same reason, flopped for their team. Come on now. And the coach is.
And if I'm Christian McCaffrey, I get ready to limp myself on out of Carolina. I know, I'm hurt, coach. I'm hurt.
Well, he might not have a chance. He might not have a choice.
I don't know, man. I think Baker Mayfield gonna show y'all out. Watch what I tell you.
Okay.
Watch what I tell you.
The Panthers are still horrible.
I just think that I do think they're horrible, but if Baker somehow
he got new commercials coming out. Watch.
He's gonna get hurt, man.
But I'm telling you, if he somehow has a bounce back, they have Deontay Foreman who took over for the King in Tennessee last year.
Yeah.
They rebuilt that offensive line. They got the center from Baltimore, Bozeman, which was a great pick. I don't know how Baltimore let him go. And they drafted
The tackle.
the tackle out of NC State, Ekanawu, whatever you pronounce his name. So I don't know, man. They got the kid out of Maryland for the receiver. What's his name? The young brother. Shoot. But I just think that Carolina won't. I think the Falcons, they won't finish last in that division. I know that's not saying a lot, but
I give you that. I
Yeah.
give you that.
yeah,
Did you hear me?
I have.
I got Baker getting hurt.
I heard you. I heard
Nah,
you.
man.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
I have Matt Corral.
Because he gonna do. He gonna try to do too much.
If Matt
I don't
Corral
think
is
so.
starting by middle of the season,
I don't think
Rule
so.
will get fired, and it won't even take until January.
He's going to put in Corral to try to save his job, and saying, "Look, we're getting the young fella ready." So,
Okay.
all right. So that is so real quick, so we can finish up at NFC South. Tampa, New Orleans winning the South.
I'm gonna go with Bucks. I want the Saints to win, but I'm gonna go with the
New
Bucks
Orleans.
only because I'm
New
scared
Orleans.
of Kamara not being there. I don't know how long Kamara's gonna be out.
What do you say, J3?
Who that?
I'm going with the Who Dat Nation,
Okay.
black and gold.
Everybody keep waiting for Brady to fall off, to go over the edge. Tom Brady gonna throw for 4,500 yards and have 40 touchdowns this year.
Good Lord.
Well, I hope so for
And he
Tom
gonna
Bowles'
be.
sake.
He's sitting at home at playoff time.
Uh-oh.
First round.
Uh-oh.
Out.
All right. We see you, BJ. We see you. I would love to see Jameis do his thing, but I just think Tampa Bay is going to be prime. And if they missing something in the middle of the season, they're going to go get some old veteran that pop in and fill it in. So
You heard it here first. He gonna beat Brady and Dak this year. Watch what I tell you.
That's impressive.
all right, it is time for our final post of the evening, so we can get up out of here. Ed, why don't you start us off, bud?
I know we talked about it earlier today, but I just want us to pay more attention to women's sports. We always champion women's sports on this show. Never fails. Big Reg is a big women's sports fan. Professor, you are too. J3, you're always talking about it. So we always bring up women's sports, and I think it's time that we realize that women are we have great women's sports in this country. I mean, and throughout the world, but I mean, we have a great women's soccer team. We have great U.S. track and field teams. We have great tennis players. All these women have represented this country and themselves and their families for years. Let's celebrate them.
Amen.
Oh, and I'm
Excellent.
sorry, and great women's basketball too,
Amen.
as evidenced by the Olympic sports and how they always show up.
Dominate.
So
Yes,
let's give them their due, man. I mean, goodness gracious, it's time.
I'm with you, Professor. What you got for me?
Yeah, I just want to ask everyone out there in virtual land, just continue to keep all the men here you see and our two partners that you don't see in your prayers. We may not we may not say it all the time, but we have some storms going on in our families, people that are sick or ailing. We just ask that you continue to lift them up, pray for our strength as well and for speedy recoveries for all those involved.
Amen. Amen. J3.
So I just want to bring a bright spot to this moment. This makes day 60 for my 30-day challenge. So I'm just telling y'all, it can be done. It can be done. You just got to take one day at a time. Next
That's
stop
right.
is 90 days. So let's go.
At 5 a.m. in the morning every day.
5.
Yes, yes, indeed.
I feel you. I gotta give a shout out to Mark Davis, kind of on the same thing. That the Las Vegas Raiders owner is also the owner of the Las Vegas Aces, which is the women's WNBA team. When he moved the Raiders to Vegas, one of his first things he did once the stadium was done was he went to the casino who actually owned the Aces and said, I want to buy them, and I'm going to put money behind them and support them. Mark Davis has put action behind buying the Aces. One, hiring Becky Hammond, who was an assistant coach on the NBA level, former WNBA All-Star, one of the 25 greatest players ever, hired her as his head coach, and made her the first $1 million a year coach. He's brought back all of his former players. Now, the Aces have been in 3 different locations, going back to Utah where they first started, and then they went to San Antonio, and now they're in Las Vegas, reaching out to all the past players, bringing them back, flying them into Las Vegas, bringing them to games and all that. And then the way he supports his players and all that, shout out to Mark Davis.
Yes.
Now, on the football side, there may be some issues about that, but what he's doing for the Las Vegas Aces is great, and that has shown up by them being the second best team right now in the WNBA. And again, they're playing in the Commissioner's Cup for pots tonight, which will be anywhere from 5 to more than 10% of their annual salary for one game. So shout out.
Yeah. And he brought the sister in to clean the football side up.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And has a black president
Yeah.
for his WNBA team.
There you go.
Black female president.
There you
So
go.
he's doing this thing. We'd like to thank you all for tuning in and listening. We appreciate your time and opportunity to share our positions on sports with you. We're here each and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for our next show. Please join us live, but for some reason you can't check us out live. You can view previous shows on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Just search Positions on Sports Talk Show. They'll pop up. You can also check us out. We're on Twitter at Positions on SPO1. We're going to the latest fad, TikTok. So look for more and more items to be dropped by post on TikTok. So we're just looking to do some things, keep expanding. So please, we appreciate your support. No matter what medium you check out, please do us a favor, like and subscribe. Subscription's free. It'd be greatly appreciated. And again, stay safe this week. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m., same bad time, same bad channel. Peace.
Peace.
So